If you'd like to make your NFL games a little more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast, presented, of course, by DraftKings Sportsbook. Love those dudes. Love all of you that have made us one of the 5 best NFL betting, NFL gambling, whatever you want to call it, podcasts in the world. Thank you so much. I love the feedback we get from you. And by the way, I mentioned this last week. 2 things of note. Number one, we're going to be able to get to a lot more email questions the rest of this month and in the off season. You guys send me a lot of questions for Steve. Can't get to it during the regular season, but now we have time. So take advantage of any of the sponsors you see over at rosstucker.com, or just go to listen to me talk about Rocket Money or Omaha Steaks on the show. Take advantage of any of that. Send me the email. You get a confirmation for everything these days, email confirmation. Send it to me, ross@rosstucker.com, and immediately you'll go to the top of the list in terms of getting your question answered from Steve. So maybe there's something pressing for the playoffs you really want to know. I also said this last week. I'll say it again. Patreon.com/RTmedia. If you want to actually see all the data surrounding our bets each week, including the outlay, the return on investment, the strike rate, how we do with winners, with favorites, with dogs, with pick'ems. I mean, our guy Grades, the Australian sensation, has all this information. It really is amazing. And he posted all to our private Slack channel, patreon.com/RTmedia, each and every week. Just become a Tuckheads member. I'm Ross. You know that. Former NFL offensive lineman, bunch of different media gigs. I'll be in the booth Saturday night for the Eagles and the Giants for West of One on the radio if you're driving around. And then I'm going to drive about halfway to Buffalo after the game Saturday night, drive the rest of the way Sunday morning, and be on the sideline for Bills Bengals on Sunday. So got a pretty sweet weekend planned. Not going to be able to stop at the Home Depot. Will not have enough time. His name is Steve Fezzik. He's the star of the show. He's on social media at Fezzik Sports. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. Love that we get more and more people that actually like to watch the show. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. That's amazing. Steve is only at Fezzik Sports on Twitter or at pregame.com. He does not have his own website. Because Steve is so well known, because he's popular, there is a scam artist, an imposter, who tries to benefit and make money off of acting like he's Steve. Please, please, please do not fall for it. That reminds me, Steve, we got to try to report him again on social media because he's up to his old tricks.
Yes, and hopefully we don't have anyone scammed anymore. Purchase my picks, pregame.com, or just get some of them for free here, but avoid the imposter.
Okay. By the way, Ohio and Maryland, I know we have new folks in Ohio and Maryland. Just make sure you're taking advantage of what we got for you. You bet $5 and you get $200 in free bets instantly. Just use the code Ross. Steve always tells you, you got to take advantage of these freebies. I mean, that can be the edge, right, Steve? Like when you take advantage in these new states, take advantage of all the freebies.
Yes, and when you get a free bet, this is not intuitively obvious. Don't put it on an against the spread normal bet. Play a long shot. Play a big money line. I won't go into all the details why your expectation is higher by playing it that way.
Love it. See, that's the insight only Steve can provide. Let's dive right into last week, Steve. The wild card round of the NFL playoffs started out with the Seahawks and the Niners. The Niners were laying 10. It was just a lean to, I should mention, by the way, for the week, you and I both broke even, Steve. We both were exactly 0 units. We didn't gain any units. We didn't lose any units. I think most of the more experienced bettors know this, but we should probably reiterate, if you break even, Steve, you're really losing.
Yeah, because I'm not doing this for fun. I'm not a content provider. I'm not trying to look pretty. I make a living betting on sports, and I know people are skeptical. They hear that all the time. And the best evidence I can give, anyone that doesn't believe that people win, come out to Vegas during the fall. If I will get you kicked out of a sports book within half an hour where they'll say, we're not taking any more of that action. If I can't do that, I will pay you $10,000.
That's amazing. Which sports book would you go to?
Oh, I just send you into like the South Point. I'd have you play their parlay cards, and by the third time you went up to the window trying to play them, they'd be like, "We're not taking any more of these." But they would take some of the bets, but then they'd stop.
But how do they know it? So not even because they're with you, just because of what you tell them to do?
Yes.
Really? Wow,
You're
that's
skeptical.
interesting. I didn't realize that.
Feel free to try to win your 10 grand. You'll be disappointed, but we'll have a nice meal.
All right. So I think most people know, a lot of these things we're playing at minus 110. So if you're even for the week, you really lost. We try to simplify how many times we were right and how many times we were wrong by doing it with units. I'm still up 39 units for the year. Steve is up 5 units for the year. I mentioned Niners Seahawks. I leaned Seahawks. You leaned Niners. Even with the 10-point spread, the Seahawks had the lead at halftime, Steve. And you still ended up being right as the Niners won 41-23.
Yeah, it was. Geno Smith was good in the first half and back to kind of a microcosm of his entire year. Good in the first half, not so good in the second half. Niners are a juggernaut. That's a team to watch out for. Could go all the way.
Chargers, Jags. Now, this is interesting because the Chargers were laying 1 point. At one point, wow, that's a play on words. The Chargers were laying a single digit, 1. At one point, Steve, I saw the Chargers were laying 2.5, and I was feeling pretty good about my closing line value of -1 here on a Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know what did it close at after the Mike Williams news came out?
Right around 2. Chargers still stayed a 2-point favorite.
Interesting. Well, we don't often go head to head, but Steve and I went head to head on this one. I had the Chargers for 2 units. Steve had the Jags. Steve's logic was primarily around logistics. Mine was just, the Jags primed for a letdown and the Chargers kind of building for this moment. The Chargers blew a 27-0 halftime lead. The Chargers lost a game in which they were +5 in turnover margin. Steve, that's virtually impossible.
Yeah, it's if you win the turnover battle by 4 or more, you win the game outright 96% of the time. So clearly, if you win by 5 and you're comparable teams, you should never lose. Brandon Staley, not good, and in terms of his ability to run some clock. What happened to Austin Eckler? Looked like he was having a great game. Didn't get the ball second half. Don't understand it.
Literally, while we're talking, I just saw a tweet come through, Steve, that the Chargers have fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. I'm not overly surprised by that, but it also wasn't Joe Lombardi's decision to have the starters play against the Broncos and get Mike Williams hurt. But Lombardi's gone. You won 2 units on that game. Credit to you and the Jags for that comeback. I lost 2 units. That one hurt because I'm watching the game with some podcast listeners, by the way, in Buffalo, eating wings, watching the game, drinking beers, feeling like, well, there's 2 units I got, everybody. Evidently not. Bills Dolphins was the game I called. I had the Dolphins for 2 units -10.5 or +10.5. Steve, I did not get good closing line value. I thought there was a small chance Tua played. I thought there was a large chance Teddy Bridgewater played. It ended up being Skylar Thompson. I think it closed at -14, which is the biggest line ever for a wild card game. And the Dolphins came to play. Now, that's one where the Dolphins and Chargers both really won the turnover battle.
I thought it was 3-2. So the Dolphins won by 1. You're correct.
Well, but one of them was a touchdown.
Yes. And I frankly, I thought Skylar Thompson was done no favors by his Hall of Fame wide receivers, drop balls all over the place. They could have won. They could have won. Josh Allen continues to be a gunslinger, forcing the ball in. Sometimes he throws touchdown passes. Sometimes he throws interceptions on these passes. A high variance team, the Buffalo Bills. We'll see if Josh Allen can clean that up going forward.
I agree with you on Skylar Thompson. I mean, the receivers let him down with the drops, but then how about when they were up 24-20, backed up on their own goal line, 3rd and like 18, and Mike McDaniel has him try to throw the ball down the field rather than doing a draw and punting the ball away, and he gets picked off. I mean, the older I get, the more games I broadcast, the more, Steve, I really think coaching is so much more important in football than even people realize. You cannot throw the ball in that situation like that down the field in a double coverage. Call a draw for your rookie quarterback. My gosh. Or throw the check down. I mean, that changed everything. The defense was playing great. Give him a chance to win the game.
And even the announcers said, don't get too cute here. Go ahead and take care of the ball and punt. Then he throws the 20-yard interception. Yes.
Unbelievable. All right. So I won 2 units there on the Dolphins. Giants, Vikings. I put 2 units on the Giants getting 3. They won outright, Steve. Daniel Jones looked awesome. I'd be shocked if that Vikings defensive coordinator is not fired. You leaned Giants. I took them for 2 units. They won outright 31-24.
So at least I won't get any more hate mail from the Viking fans that are so mad at me for telling them that their team is mediocre right in the middle of the league. And you know what? Season win number will back me up next year. The Vikings, if it opens at 9, the sharp bettors are going to play under 9. They think the Vikings are no better than an average team.
Minnesota is, though, near Nebraska, which is where Omaha Steaks are. And they have everything you need to bounce back from the holidays, stay cozy all winter. They even have these convenient, simple-to-prepare meals, which I love. If you enter even at checkout, you get $30 off your order, Steve, and you have 100% money-back guarantee. Omaha Steaks isn't just steak. It's the best steak of your life. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use our promo code EVEN at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Love the tenderness, juiciness. Awesome. Again, perfectly portioned meals, which I like too. Use promo code EVEN at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order over at omahasteaks.com. We move on to the Sunday night game, Steve. It was the Bengals and the Ravens. Neither one of us had anything on this game because of the line. You leaned Bengals. I probably would have leaned Ravens. The Bengals end up winning 24-17 on one of the all-time swing plays in NFL history. Just unbelievable, Steve.
Yeah, and this is just having a high football IQ that on a play like that, if it's 4th down, reach the ball over. It's fine because you're about to turn the ball over. You're not going to expect a 99-yard fumble recovery. If you fumble, usually it's no big deal, but you cannot do that on 3rd down because you've got a whole nother down to punch it in. You got to go low, not high on a 3rd down on a play like that. Just a bad decision. And kudos to the Bengals. They saw it coming. They punched the ball out and made the big play. Yes.
It's a good point, actually, Steve. For Logan Wilson, the linebacker, to be ready for that and to come over the top and, knock it back before he actually got to the goal line, that was nice. And then we had a best bet last night, Steve. Cowboys, Bucks. We both like getting the Bucks and the 3. If it was 2.5, I would have teased it. It didn't matter. They got embarrassed offensively and defensively. Dak tore them up. Brady and the offense looked bad. Final score 31-14. What can I say? We both lost 2 units. We were both just very, very wrong.
Yeah, and Brady's old. I get it. He should not come back. Russ, you got connections. Can someone talk to TB and explain to him how awful he's going to be next year with the Raiders or whoever he goes to? This correct me if you disagree. I think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster.
Honestly, at this point, Steve, I think he just likes playing. I think he just likes playing the game and realizes he'll never be able to replicate that anywhere else in life. And he likes playing. I know he wanted to have a better season than this, but I don't think it deters him. I really don't. By the way, I'm up 39 units for the year. Steve is up 5 units for the year. We move on to the divisional round, and we start with the Jacksonville Jaguars Saturday at 4:30, Steve. They are getting 8.5 from the Chiefs. The total is 51.5.
So this stands out the Saturday as the teaser of the year. Kansas City will tease from 8.5 down to 2.5. Philly will tease down from 7.5 to 1.5. Russ, how could either one of those teams lose? 3 units. I love this teaser.
Wow. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on the teaser for sure. I can't see the Chiefs losing to the Jags, and I'd be surprised if the Eagles lost to the Giants, but Giants kind of have some belief, and Daniel Jones looked good. It's their 3rd time playing them. Maybe the Eagles are a little rusty. Maybe hurts his shoulders worse than we think. But I'm with you on that teaser, and it's a big swing, but I'm going to do it with you because I want all the love of the best bet. 3 units, a 3-unit best bet on that 2-team teaser. Chiefs down to -2.5, Eagles down to -1.5.
The best bet.
All right. While I say that, Steve, need your thought on this. This has worked for me a couple times this year. I'm also considering taking the Jags and the 8.5 and the Giants and the 7.5. Your thoughts?
All right, I'm going to veto the Jags. There's, if you go back and look at how NFL teams do off of epic comeback wins like Jacksonville just had from the dead, they don't do well the next game. So I don't have the exact numbers. So, but that's a bad spot for Jacksonville. I would argue I like the Giants, but I can't bet the Giants. I know it's a really short road trip, but it's still the Giants' 5th road game in 6 weeks. At some point, that does potentially catch up to you in terms of your energy levels. So that's keeping me off the Giants.
I'm going to pass on the Jags because of what you said about the comeback. The Chiefs looked so good in that last game against the Raiders that I called. Now the Jags just feel like they're running out of steam here. So I'm going to lay off the Jags, but I'm going to take the Giants. They're getting 7.5. The total is 48. It's the 3rd time. They got a good coaching staff. They actually stayed within like 8 points the last time they played the Eagles without their starters. Now they have Barkley and Daniel Jones. Giants plus the 7.5, 2 units. I think the Eagles win by between 3 to 6 points, or maybe even 7. 2 units on the Giants. What about the Bengals and the Bills on Sunday, Steve? The Bengals are getting 5 points. I'll be on the sideline for this one. The total is 49.
So at first blush, we're thinking Bengals, fairly comparable teams. Bengals on a massive run here, win streak, but the O-line. Russ, why don't you talk about the continuity of O-lines, and one guy goes down, next player steps up, but now you got 3 guys hurt on an O-line, which couldn't protect the Bengals early in the year, and then it started to gel better later in the year. I think we're back to a game where Burrow gets sacked 6 times. I would lean in this game to the favorite, if anything.
I'm going the other way. I'm taking the Bengals +5. Very concerned about the Bengals O-line. However, to your point, Steve, these are the guys that they won the Super Bowl or they went to the Super Bowl with last year. Like Adeniji at right tackle, Carmen, like these guys were playing in those playoff games last year and somehow they won. You know, Burrow found a way. He did take a bunch of sacks last year during the playoffs, but he made enough other plays. Their defense is good enough. I like the Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals +5, 2 units to keep this one close. Feels like it's a field goal game either way. So I will roll with the road team. Speaking of rolling, I am rolling with Rocket Money. Used to be known as Truebill. It's the personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending. It helps you lower your bills all in one place. So listen, I almost guarantee, in fact, 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. So most of you listening right now have subscriptions that you're paying for that you forgot about because the credit card companies do, you know, online statements only. So you don't get the paper statement. You're not looking at it. The key to me for this, Steve, you just press a button on the app. They cancel it for you. So you don't have to like call the customer service. I'd like to cancel this. That's such a pain in the you know what? Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/evenmoney. That's rocketmoney.com/evenmoney, rocketmoney.com/evenmoney. Like the symmetry there. Final game, Steve. Cowboys getting 3.5 on the road in San Francisco. The total's 46.
So I lean to the 49ers here. 4th straight road game for the Cowboys. And these are not short travel. This is significant travel. Plus, Dallas had to play Monday night. Now they got to play Sunday. So 6 days. San Francisco got to play Saturday, 8 days. So the intangibles favor the Niners as well. I hate laying 3.5 for us. I just hate it. There's a chance the game could go to 3. As good as the Cowboys looked, some money's coming in on the Cowboys today. At 3, it's absolutely a play. At 3.5, it's a lean to the Niners just because I could see it being a field goal game. So just a lean.
Taking the Cowboys. Yeah, I was pretty impressed last night. And just like you hate laying 3.5, Steve, I love getting 3.5. Love it. It's my single favorite spread to get because they're telling you it's a pretty even game, that the teams are both pretty good, but then you're getting more than a field goal. So big fan of getting the +3.5. Give me the Cowboys +3.5 for 2 units. So I got the Giants, Bengals, Cowboys all for 2 units. And I even lean Jacksonville getting the 8.5. Steve and I both have the best bet on the Chiefs and the Eagles teaser, the Saturday special, down to -2.5, -1.5. We'll see if Jack can find. There's a special, want to ask Steve a question, sounder. I don't think we've done this before. We're about to find out whether or not Jack knows where it is and can find it in the next 1, 2.
Ever wanted to ask a professional sports bettor a question? It's time to Ask Steve.
These are the questions I love, Steve. The math questions. This is from Jared Ronalds. Okay. He says, I have a book that offers 2 team teasers at -110, but ties lose. Can Steve analyze how that compares to betting teasers at a book that charges -120?
Yeah, it's phenomenally better. You will destroy this book and you're going to get kicked out of this book. So what you want to do is, since ties lose, you can't lay an integer. So let's say you got as an example, an 8-point favorite, which we oftentimes tease to 2. No good, 2 loses. So now at this book, you're going to have to play that game as a 6.5-point teaser, which will be -120 in this case at that book. So whenever you got a half-point spread, like Kent State's -8.5, bang, You play teasers minus 6.5. 7.5 point spread, lay it down to minus 1.5. But a 8-point favorite, you got to play those plays in 6.5 point teasers because you can never play an integer. You can never play a +2 up to +8. If it happens to be +2, you got to play it in a 6.5 point teaser and get it to 8.5.
All right, so essentially, it's a better way to do it. You just got to make sure you never tie.
Exactly. Make it impossible to tie because I tell you what, the reason that book can offer those great odds is that other bettors aren't reading the fine print and they're playing the integer numbers. So because of that, they're able to offer this great deal that a lot of people are unaware of, the bad aspect of it that you can avoid completely.
I can't remember the last time I heard the word integer. That's unbelievable. That's like middle school, maybe? I feel like I have to Google. What is an integer again?
The Ivy League education working for you. So 3.68 is not an integer. 4 is an integer. -5 is an integer. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Yes, my son, I remember when he was 5 and 6 and 7 going through all this. Now he's 11 and he's in pre-calculus. Go figure.
Yeah, Steve's son, by the way, is absolutely brilliant. So love that. See if I got another short one we can get to. Yeah, these people some of your questions, guys, are way too long.
By the way, that question was phenomenal. That really was a great question. And I know the book in particular he's referring to, and it's an exceptional book to play at.
So this is a long time ago, but Kathleen asked me, Ross and Steve, love your show. I'm a little leery of following the majority of bettors. So I have 2 questions for you. So far, which regular season win totals have the majority of bettors been betting over? Which season win totals have the majority of bettors been betting under? Essentially, what Kathleen is asking here, Steve, is she doesn't like going with the majority. So if she sees that a lot of people are doing something, she doesn't want to do that. Is that the right or the wrong solution for Kathleen?
If you don't want to follow the herd when you're the last one to bet it. So you're talking about season wins as an example. The Saints opened 7.5. They closed 9. You don't want to be playing over 8.5 or over 9 at post. If you got it, the Saints at over 7.5, I know they only won 7 games. They should have won 8. You should have gotten there, but it becomes a bridge too far when the point spread tax hits and the total winds up going up too much. Having said that, the hot teams actually got there. Jacksonville over, Detroit over. Didn't look like they were going to get there. They started out slowly, but both those teams that were Vegas darlings and got bet up hard went over each and every number.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll still have that show, by the way. I can't remember when we do that show. Maybe it's after Super Bowl when we go through our season win totals and give you guys a clue as to how we did. Remember, at Fezzik Sports on Twitter, at Ross Tucker NFL on any social media platform, at Ross Tucker Pod on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook now. Love those of you that are getting the best Valentine's Day gift ever at myfrontpagestory.com. Other than that, good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for listening to the Even Money Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, The Fantasy Feast, Business of Sports, and The College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.